Okay, welcome in. I'm a couple days behind on the hockey reviews. Not that it's that unfortunate. So I'm going to take a look at Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays games, and then we'll take a look at the standings. There's no point in doing hockey replays and stuff like that because I'll run out of time. All right. So you had 3 games on Friday. An original 6 matchup took place in New York. Oliver Ekman-Larsson would score in the first period, getting his 4th goal of this season, assisted by Max Domi and Morgan Riley, 1 minute and 47 seconds into the first. Mika Zibanejad would tie the game up in the first, getting his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Will Borgen and JT Miller, 13:08 of the first. Just 51 seconds into the second period, William Nylander would give the Leafs their second lead of the night, his 34th goal of the season, unassisted, just 51 seconds into the second period. Will Cooley would tie the game up in the third, shorthanded, getting his 16th of the year, assisted by Zibanejad, who had 2 points in this game, 3 minutes and 47 seconds into the third. Matthew Knies would put the Leafs on top for the third time, getting his 22nd goal of the year from Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, 6 minutes and 21 seconds of the third. The Leafs would defeat the Rangers 3-2. All right, now we're off to Dallas as the Stars played host to the Los Angeles Kings. Jason Robertson would kick things off in the first, getting his 25th goal of the season, assisted by Thomas Harley and Rupe Hintz, 4 minutes and 21 seconds of the first. Warren Fogle would tie the game up at 6 minutes and 44 seconds of the first, getting his 17th of the year, assisted by Philippe Deneau and Mikey Anderson. Staying in the first, Matt Duchene would put the Dallas Stars up on top, 2-1, getting his 24th goal of the year, assisted by Hintz and Robertson on the power play, 11:59 of the first. Logan Stankoven would increase the lead to 3-1, 14 minutes and 11 seconds of the first, his 8th of the year, assisted by Esa Lindell and Sam Steele. Wyatt Johnson would increase the lead to 4-1, 4 minutes and 57 seconds into the second, getting his 18th goal of the season on the power play from Rupe Hintz and Thomas Harley. Trevor Moore would cut into the lead, getting his 11th goal of the season, unassisted, 13:51 of the second. Logan Stankoven would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 9th of the year, from Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson, 4 minutes and 6 seconds of the third. Sam Steele would get on the goal scorer sheet himself, having a goal and an assist in the game, his 6th of the year, 6 minutes and 19 seconds of the third, tripling up on the Kings 6-2, and that's where we'd stand at the end of regulation. And the last game from Friday took place in Colorado as we had 2 teams from the Central Division duking it out for 2 points. And both these teams are like neck and neck in that division as well. So a very critical game for both squads. In the first period, Mats Zuccarello would open up the scoring for Minnesota, getting his 13th of the year, assisted by Marcus Johansson, 4 minutes and 14 seconds of the opening frame. Valery Nichushkin would get his 12th goal of the year on the power play from Nathan McKinnon and Martin Necas, 13 minutes and 58 seconds of the first. Vinny Hinostroza still doesn't have a picture. I don't know why. Would put Minnesota up 2-1, getting his 3rd of the year on the power play from Robbie Faber and Rossi, 17 minutes and 42 seconds of the first. In the second, Jonathan Drouin would tie the game up at 2, getting his 7th goal of the year, assisted by Shillington, 8 minutes and 57 seconds of the second. Less than a minute after that, Jack Drury would put the Avs on top, getting his 6th of the year from Cale Makar and Ross Colton, 9 minutes and 49 seconds of the middle frame. Just under 5 minutes after that, Ross Colton would increase the lead to 4-2, getting his 14th of the year from Shillington and Kiviranta, 14 minutes and 39 seconds of the second. Late in the third, Minnesota pulled their goalie down by 2. Unfortunately, they were not able to mount a comeback as Ross Colton would get his 2nd goal of the game on the power play and an empty netter as well from Devin Tays and Mackenzie Blackwood. So the goaltender picked up an assist on the last goal of the game. So the Avs would win 5-2, and that takes care of Fridays. Now Saturday, March 1st. It's hard to believe we only have like one more meaningful month of hockey, and then the playoffs will be starting in mid-April. So we had a lot of games on Saturday, so let's dive in. Montreal went into Buffalo. They are doing a home and home with the Sabres. Cole Caulfield would open up the scoring, getting his 29th goal of the season on the power play from Patrick Laine and Nick Suzuki, 1:13 of the second frame. Alex Tuch would tie the game up at 1, getting his 22nd of the season, assisted by Bryson, 6 minutes and 4 seconds of the second. Yuri Kulich would give Buffalo their first lead of the night, getting his 12th goal of the year, assisted by Rasmus Dahlin and JJ Peterka, 7:33 of the middle frame. Josh Anderson would tie the game up at 2, getting his 10th of the year from Christian Dvorak and Lane Hudson, 13:33 of the second. Alex Newhook would put the Montreal Canadiens up 3-2 with just 3 seconds to go. For Newhook, that'd be his 12th goal of the year from Matheson and Lane Hudson, who has 42 assists as a rookie defenseman. Pretty impressive. Late in the third, Montreal was up 3-2. Buffalo pulled their goalie. Jake Evans would get the empty netter, assisted by Christian Dvorak, and that goal happened with 1:38 seconds to go on the clock. So Montreal would win the first of the 2 games against the Sabres, 4-2. The New York Islanders played host to the Nashville Predators. Jean-Gabriel Pageau would open up the scoring for the New York Islanders, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Cizikas and Boqvist, 2:37 of the first period. Kyle Palmieri would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 19th goal of the season on the power play from Boqvist and Brock Nelson, 12:27 of the first. Bo Horvat would increase the lead to 3-0 with 29 seconds to go in the period. For Horvat, that'd be his 20th goal of the season, assisted by Anders Lee. In the second, Colton Sissons would finally get Nashville on the board, 1 minute and 3 seconds in the middle frame. That'd be his 7th goal of the season unassisted. Brock Nelson would increase the lead to 4-1, getting his 18th goal of the season, shorthanded, assisted by Holmstrom, 2:38 of the second. Mark Dalgaizo would get his first goal of the season from Sissons and Ryan O'Reilly, cutting the lead to 4-2, 4 minutes and 58 seconds of the second period. Brock Nelson would increase the lead to 5-2, getting his 2nd of the game, I do believe, his 19th of the season, assisted by Romanov and Holmstrom, 16:21 of the second frame. Casey Cizikas would increase the lead to 6-2, getting his 5th of the year, assisted by Fasching and Jean-Gabriel Pageau, 5 minutes and 21 seconds of the third. Cole Smith would cut the lead in half to 6-3, getting his 3rd of the year from Dalgaizo and Colton Sissons, 5:51 of the third. Cole Smith would score again, getting his 2nd of the game, his 4th of the year from Novak and Blankenberg, and that goal happened with 1 minute and 4 seconds to go in the game. Nashville was down by 2. They would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be, as Ilya Sorokin would get credited for the empty net goal, the goaltender, with 12 seconds to go in the game. And a funny little thing about Sorokin was that, I don't know if he had a tweet, but he definitely had some type of a message after the game, how he was so happy that he got his first National Hockey League goal instead of his best friend, Ilya Shesterkin, in New York, for the other New York team in the New York Rangers. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before Shesterkin gets his goal as well. So good on Sorokin for getting his first National Hockey League goal. Goalie goals are very, very rare. All right, now we're off to Washington as the Capitals played host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Mitchell Chaffee would kick things off for the Lightning in the first on the power play, getting his 11th of the year, assisted by Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov, 17:11 of the first. Gage Goncalves would get his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Nick Paul, 6:08 of the third period, putting Tampa Bay up 2-0. Alex Ovechkin would get his 31st goal of the season. He's inching closer and closer to that goal record held by the great one, assisted by Matt Roy, 16:01 of the third period. Washington was down by a goal. They tried to tie it up. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be. Brandon Hagel would get the empty net goal, his 30th of the season, giving the Lightning a 3-1 lead with 59 seconds to go in the game, and that's where we would stand at the end of regulation. Alrighty, now we're off to Florida as the Panthers played host to the Calgary Flames. There's no scoring in the first. Jonah Gadjovic would open up the scoring for Florida in the second, 4 minutes and 47 seconds to be exact. For Gadjovic, that'd be his third of the year from Greer and Nate Schmidt. Evan Rodriguez would increase the lead to 2-0 with 36 seconds to go in the second. For Rodriguez, that'd be his 14th goal of the season, assisted by Ekblad and Sam Bennett. In the third period, Mackie Samskovich would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 10th of the year from Sam Bennett and Evan Rodriguez. So the defending Stanley Cup champs would win 3-0 over the Flames. All right, now we're off to Pittsburgh as the Penguins played host to the Boston Bruins. David Pastrnak would open up the scoring for Boston in the first, getting his 32nd goal of the year from Pavel Zacha and Morgan Geekie, 132 of the opening frame. Mason Lohrei would increase the lead to 2-0 in the first, getting his 4th of the year on the power play from Zacha and Pastrnak, 6:33 of the opening frame. Anthony Beauvillier would finally get Pittsburgh on the board late in the third with just under 6 minutes to go. For Beauvillier, that'd be his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Kevin Hayes, and that was shorthanded as well. Charlie Coyle would get a shorthanded goal of his own with 41 seconds to go, getting his 14th of the season, assisted by Zadorov. It would also be an empty net goal because the Bruins were ahead by 1 goal. Pittsburgh tried to tie it up. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be. They would get a late goal with 22 seconds to go, courtesy of Ricard Raquel, getting his 26th of the season on that same power play, assisted by Brian Rust and Sidney Crosby. So the Bruins would win 3-2. All right, now we had the Stadium Series between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings. Once upon a time, these two teams used to be in the same division when they were both in the Western Conference, so these two teams are quite familiar with each other, even though they don't see each other as often as they used to. Denton Mateychuk, oh my, would get his 3rd goal of the year from Boone Jenner and James Van Riemsdyk, 5 minutes and 31 seconds of the second frame. Alex DeBrincat would tie the game up at 1, getting his 13th goal of the season. Getting his 28th goal of the season, I apologize, on the power play from Patrick Kane and Sider, 13:06 of the second period. Dmitry Voronikov would give the Blue Jackets a 2-1 lead with 2 minutes and 37 seconds to go on the clock. For Voronikov, that'd be his 20th of the year on the power play, assisted by Kent Johnson and Zach Werenski. Just 32 seconds after that, Mathieu Olivier would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 12th of the year, assisted by Danforth. So the Blue Jackets had a 3-1 lead heading into the third period. Patrick Kane would cut the lead at 3-2, getting his 15th of the year, assisted by Edvinsson and Johansson, 3:34 of the third period. Alex DeBrincat would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 29th of the season. He's that much closer to 30. Tying the game up at 3 for DeBrincat, his goal would be assisted by Gustafsson and Patrick Kane. Those two just have a little bit of chemistry, especially with their time in Chicago. Justin Danforth would put the Blue Jackets on top again, getting his 6th of the year, assisted by Aston Reese and Provorov, 17:43 of the third period. And just like any team, you're down by 1, you pull the goalie. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be, as Adam Fantilli would get the empty net goal, his 18th of the year from Zach Werenski and Boone Jenner. And that goal happened with 1 minute and 8 seconds to go in the game. So the Blue Jackets would win the Stadium Series 5-3 over the Detroit Red Wings. All right, now we're off to Ottawa as the Senators played host to the San Jose Sharks. Shane Pinto would kick things off for the Sens in the first, getting his 12th goal of the year, assisted by Ridley Gregg, a shorthanded goal, 11 minutes and 5 seconds of the first. Tyler Toffoli would tie the game up at 1, getting his 22nd goal of the season on the power play from Will Smith and Matthew Celebrini, 5:17 of the second. Timothy Liljegren would put the Sharks on top 2-1, 9 minutes and 47 seconds in the second period. For Liljegren, that'd be his 5th goal of the season on the power play from Wenberg and Klim Kostin. Brady Tkachuk would tie the game up at 2 early in the second period on the power play, his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Stützle and Sanderson, 1:26 of the third. Speaking of Stützle, he'd get on the goal scorer sheet himself exactly 3 minutes into the third, getting his 19th goal of the season, assisted by Greg. David Perron would get his second goal of the season, increasing the lead to 4-2, assisted by Shabbat and Batherson, 8:31 of the third. Will Smith would get his 10th goal of the season on the power play, cutting the lead to 4-3. For Smith, that'd be a power play goal from Eklund and Celebrini. And that goal happened with 1 minute and 27 seconds to go in the game. The Sharks were down by a goal, tried pulling their goalie, didn't work. Michael Amadio would get the empty net goal, his 6th of the year from Zub, and that happened with exactly 1 minute to go. So the Sens would win 5-3. All right, now we're off to Raleigh, North Carolina, as we have the Hurricanes playing host to the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton would strike first, courtesy of Adam Henrique, getting his 8th goal of the season, shorthanded, assisted by Matthias Janmark, 5:08 of the first. Corey Perry would increase the lead to 2-0, 16:29 of the second period, getting his 13th of the year from Draisaitl and Brett Kulak. Sebastian Aho would finally get the Hurricanes on the board early in the third, getting his 22nd goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Rantanen and Shane Gothisber. Late in the third, Carolina was down by a goal. Unfortunately, they were not able to tie it up. Evan Bouchard would score with 1 second to go in the game, getting a power play goal, empty netter, assisted by Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. So the Oilers would finally stop their 4-game losing streak or 3-game losing streak since the Four Nations face-off finished a couple weeks ago. All right, now we're off to Winnipeg as the Jets played host to the Philadelphia Flyers. Mark Scheifele would open up the scoring for Winnipeg in the first, 9 minutes and 58 seconds to be exact. For Scheifele, that'd be his 34th goal of the year, assisted by Velarde and Kyle Connor. Jamie Drysdale would tie the game up at 1, 3 minutes and 48 seconds in the second period. For Drysdale, that'd be his 3rd goal of the season, assisted by Cates and Sealer. We would need a shootout to decide this one, and the rookie Matvei Michkov would get the shootout winner, getting his 20th goal of the season. The Flyers would win 2-1. The St. Louis Blues played host to the Los Angeles Kings. Kevin Fiala would open up the scoring for Los Angeles in the first period, getting his 24th goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Drew Doughty and Anze Kopitar. Colton Parayko would tie the game up at 1, getting his 15th goal of the season from Kyrou and Dylan Holloway, 9:37 of the first period. Late in the first, with just under 2 minutes to go, Pavel Vucinovic would put the Blues on top, 2-1, getting his 13th goal of the season, assisted by Robert Thomas and Jake Neighbors. Zach Bolduc would increase the lead to 3-1 in the second, 9 minutes and 27 seconds to be exact. For Bolduc, that'd be his 9th goal of the season, assisted by Matthew Joseph. Early in the third, Dylan Holloway would increase the lead to 4-1, 1 minute and 34 seconds to be exact. That would be his 19th goal of the season from Shen and Ryan Sutter. So the Blues would win 4-1. The Utah Hockey Club played host to the New Jersey Devils. The captain, Nico Hischier, would open up the scoring for New Jersey in the first, 9 minutes and 34 seconds to be exact. For Hischier, that'd be his 25th goal of the season, assisted by Luke Hughes and Thomas Tatar. I love saying his name like that. Mikhail Sergachev would tie the game up at 1, just over halfway through the game, getting his 11th goal of the season from O'Brien and Stenlin. Timo Meier would put the New Jersey Devils on top just 14 seconds into the third period, getting his 16th of the year from Mercer and Kovacevic, just 14 seconds into the third. Curtis Lazar would increase the lead to 3-1, 12 minutes and 44 seconds in the third. For Lazar, that'd be his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Jack Hughes and Nick Bastian. All right, now we're off to Anaheim as the Ducks played host to the Chicago Blackhawks. Wyatt Kaiser would start the scoring for Chicago, 7 minutes and 48 seconds in the second, getting his 2nd goal of the year, assisted by Teravainen and Mikheyev. Leo Carlson would tie the game up at 1, 8 minutes and 33 seconds in the second. For Carlson, that'd be his 12th goal of the year, assisted by Vetrano. Pat Maroon would get a power play goal, not too often, getting his 4th of the year from Reichel and Martinez, 10 minutes and 24 seconds of the middle frame. Roughly 3 minutes after that, Teuvo Teravainen would increase the lead to 3-1 for the Chicago Blackhawks. For Teravainen, that'd be his 14th goal of the season, assisted by Ryan Donato and TJ Brody. Jackson Lacombe would cut into the lead, making it 3-2 for Lacombe. That'd be his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Ryan Strome and Frank Vetrano. That goal happened with 5 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the second. In the third, Lucas Reichel would increase the lead to 4-2 for Chicago, getting his 6th of the season from Craig Smith and Alec Martinez, 4:53 of the third. Ryan Donato would increase the lead to 5-3, getting his 20th goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Bertuzzi and Vlasic, 7:40 of the third. Ryan Donato would increase the lead to 6-2, getting his 21st goal of the year, assisted by Teravainen, 10 minutes and 56 seconds of the third. Leo Carlson will get his 2nd goal of the game for the Ducks, cutting the lead to half, getting his 13th of the year, assisted by Brian Dumoulin, 17-16 of the third. So the Blackhawks would double up on the Ducks, 6-3. And the last game from Saturday took place in Seattle, as the Kraken played host to the Vancouver Canucks. In the first period, Andrei Burakovsky would open up the scoring for Seattle, getting his 6th goal of the season from Shane Wright, 5 minutes and 47 seconds into the first period. P.S. Suter would tie the game up at 11:35 of the first, getting his 16th goal of the season unassisted. Philip Hedl, I believe, would give the Canucks a 2-1 lead, getting his 13th goal of the year, assisted by Myers and Marcus Pettersson. 16:27 of the first. Oliver Bjorkstrand would tie the game up at 4 minutes and 11 seconds of the second. For Bjorkstrand, that'd be his 16th goal of the season, assisted by Brandon Montour and Shane Wright. Dakota Joshua would put the Vancouver Canucks up 3-2, 8:05 of the second, getting his 4th goal of the year, shorthanded, assisted by Drew O'Connor. Matty Beniers would tie the game up at 12 minutes and 8 seconds of the second period. For Beniers, that'd be his 14th goal of the year, assisted by Vince Dunn. Eli Tolvanen would give the Kraken a 4-3 lead, 13:08 of the second period. For Tolvanen, that'd be his 17th goal of the season, assisted by Ryan Evans and Chandler Stevenson. Brandon Montour would increase the lead to 5-3, getting his 11th goal of the season, 5:38 of the third, assisted by McCann and Eberle. Late in the third, the Canucks were down by 2, hoping that pulling the goalie and having an extra skater would help. Unfortunately, it kind of backfired, as Eli Tolvanen would score on the empty net, getting his 18th of the season, assisted by Vince Dunn. So the Kraken would double up on the Canucks, 6-3. And Sunday, we had a total of 6 games on tap. So I should be able to get this done in 7 minutes, I hope. Starting in Pittsburgh, as we had the Penguins playing host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Max Domi would kick things off in the first, getting his 4th goal of the season, assisted by McMahon and Robertson, 2:15 of the first. Connor Timmins would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his 2nd goal of the season, assisted by Holmberg and Leander, 4:39 of the first. Cody Glass would give the Penguins their 1st goal of the game, 10:27 of the first. For Glass, that'd be his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Shea and Lizotte. Ricard Raquel would tie the game up at 2, getting his 27th goal of the year from Grizzlejic and Sidney Crosby, 11:09 of the first. Speaking of Sidney Crosby, he would put the Penguins ahead 3-2, getting his 19th goal of the season, assisted by Erik Karlsson and Brian Rust, 13:51 of the first, a PPG. Austin Matthews would tie the game up at 3, getting his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Matthew Nyes and Mitch Marner, 4:08 of the second period. Brian Rust would put the Penguins up 4-3, 15:38 of the second, getting his 21st goal of the season from Sidney Crosby and Erik Karlsson. Tavares would tie the game up at 4 with 56 seconds to go in the second, getting his 23rd goal of the year, assisted by Jake McCabe. Matthew Nyes would increase the lead give the Leafs a 5-4 lead, getting his 23rd goal of the season unassisted, and that goal happened with roughly a second to go in the second. So this game easily could have been tied at 4 heading into the third, but Nyes would break the tie with just under a second to go. Rickard Rakell would tie the game up 10 seconds into the third, getting his 28th of the year from Rust and Chris Letang. William Nylander would score in the overtime, getting the game-winning goal, his 35th of the year, from Morgan Rielly and Austin Matthews. A wild scoring game between the Penguins and the Leafs. The Leafs came away on top, 6-5. Just the one goal to report, so we went from a 6-5 game to a 1-0 game, which is nice. Should speed things up between the Wild and the Bruins. Frederick Gaudreau would get credited for the goal, his 13th of the year, from Marcus Johansson and Mats Zuccarello, 5:01 of the second period, and that's at the end of the game. The Hurricanes played host to the Calgary Flames, who were continuing their road trip. In the second, with 35 seconds to go, Jacob Slavin would break the tie, getting his 6th of the year, assisted by Blake. 1-0 in favor of the Hurricanes. In the third, Nazem Kadri would tie the game up at 1, getting his 21st goal of the season on the power play from Huberdeau and Uyghur, 7:06 of the third. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Sebastian Aho would get the game-winning goal, his 23rd of the year, from Slavin and Blake. 3 minutes and 16 seconds into the overtimes, the Hurricanes would win 2-1. A battle of two teams in the Central Division as the Stars played host to the St. Louis Blues. Mason Marchman would kick things off for the Stars in the first, getting his 15th goal of the season on the power play from Bourque and Granlund, 1:56 of the first. Zach Bolduc would tie the game up at 1, getting his 10th of the year from Sundqvist and Broberg, 3:22 of the first period. Matt Duchene would put the Stars up 2-1, 13:28 of the first, getting his 25th goal of the season, assisted by Mason Marchman and Cody C. Dylan Holloway would tie the game up at 2, 18:34 of the first, getting a power play goal, his 20th of the season, from Braden Shen and Jordan Kyrou. Wyatt Johnston would put the Stars on top with 2 seconds to go in the first, getting his 19th goal of the season on the power play from Roope Hintz and Thomas Harley. Roope Hintz would score early in the second, 1 minute and 6 seconds to be exact, getting his 24th goal of the year, assisted by Robertson and Stan Coven. Nathan Walker would cut into the lead, making it 4-3, getting his 7th goal of the season from Torpachenko and Robert Thomas, 8:02 of the second. Wyatt Johnston would increase the lead to 5-2, 9 minutes and 14 seconds into the third. For Johnston, that'd be his 20th goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Roope Hintz and Matt Duchene. Johnson would score yet again, getting his 21st goal of the season on the power play from Roope Hintz and Thomas Harley, 11:11 of the third period, and that's where we would stand at the end of the game. So the Stars would double up on the Blues, 6-2. All right, now we're off to the Big Apple as the New York Rangers played host to the Nashville Predators. Artemi Panarin would get his 24th goal of the season to open up the scoring, assisted by Lafreniere and Christian Dahan, who got his first assist of the season and his first assist as a member of the Rangers. JT Miller would increase the lead to 2-0, 1 minute and 2 seconds of the second, getting a power play goal, assisted by Panarin and Zibanejad, and for Miller, that'd be his 15th goal of the season. The other Miller, Keandre Miller, would score, putting the Rangers ahead 3-0, getting his 5th goal of the season, assisted by JT Miller and Zibanejad. 3:25 of the second period. Brett Berard would increase the lead to 4-0, getting his 4th of the season, assisted by Sam Carrick. So the Rangers would win 4-0, and that goal happened with 3 minutes and 3 seconds to go in the game. And the last game took place in Vegas as the Vegas Golden Knights played host to the New Jersey Devils. There was no scoring in the first 2 periods. Mark Stone would finally break the tie in the third, getting a power play goal, his 16th of the season, assisted by Noah Hanifin and Jack Eichel. Noah Hanifin would get a goal of his own, assisted by Jack Eichel at 9 minutes and 10 seconds of the third, increasing the lead to 2-0. And for Eichel, he has 53 assists on the season. That is absurd. All right, now I can finally say we'll take a look at the standings. I'm just going to scroll this back if I can. It's going to be a little lopsided, and I do apologize. So let's see if I can get a somewhat decent angle here. Okay, so in the Atlantic, division. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in first place. Let's see if I can scroll over just so I can have the wins, loss, overtime, and points. So they're in first place with a record of 38, 20, and 2. They have 78 points. The Florida Panthers are 1 point behind them with a record of 37, 21, and 3. They have 77 points. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are third in that division with a record of 35, 20, and 4. Only 4 points separating first and third place. All right, off to the Metropolitan Division as the Washington Capitals are still leading that division with a record of 38, 14, and 8. They have 84 points. The Carolina Hurricanes are in second place with a record of 35, 22, and 4. They have 74 points. And the New Jersey Devils are in third place with a record of 33, 23, and 6. They have 72 points. The two teams in the wildcard position are the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have a record of 30, 22, and 8. They have 68 points. They're now 4 points behind New Jersey for that last spot in the Metropolitan. And as for the Detroit Red Wings, they have a record of 30, 24, and 6. They have 66 points. They're 8 points back at Tampa, so it's more than likely going to make the playoffs as a wild card team. All right, take a look at the rest of the standings in the Eastern Conference. The Ottawa Senators are 2 points out of a playoff spot with a record of 30, 25, and 4. They have 64 points. The New York Rangers are 30, 26, and 4. They have 64 points. The Bruins are 28, 26, and 8. They have 64 points as well. So 3 teams are just 2 points out of a playoff spot. The Montreal Canadiens are 29, 26, and 5. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. The Philadelphia Flyers are 27, 26, and 8. They have 62 points. The Islanders are 27, 25, and 7. They have 61 points. They're 5 points back. The Pittsburgh Penguins are 8 points out of a playoff spot with a record of 24, 29, and 10. They have 58 points. And the Buffalo Sabres are 24, 29, and 5. They have 53 points. Okay, I have like 1 more minute left before this thing stops recording, so I'll just say the standings and the points. The Jets have 88 points. They're in first place. The Dallas Stars have 80 points. They're in second place. The Minnesota Wild have 74 points. They're in third place. The Vegas Golden Knights are in first place in the Pacific with a record of 70. They have 78 points. The Edmonton Oilers have 74 points. The Los Angeles Kings have 70 points. The 2 teams in the wild card are the Colorado Avalanche. They have 72 points, and the Calgary Flames have 65. And here's a list of the teams that are in the Western Conference that are competing or potentially out of a playoff spot. There's no point going over them because I have less than 30 seconds, but you can see on the screen who is in and who is out when it comes to the playoff position. All right, that's going to take care of this video. I apologize for the 3-day wait, but I'll try my best to be more up to date when it comes to this type of content. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.